Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, this should be fun.
Today we're cracking open a can of something truly iconic.
Let me guess.
Coca-Cola.
A classic.
I've always been fascinated by how this drink, it went from these really humble beginnings to becoming this, global symbol.
It really is remarkable.
We've got a stack of articles here,
Oh, wow.
mostly focusing on the Wikipedia entry all about Coca-Cola.
Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack.
To help us sift through it all, we've got a beverage industry expert.
That's me. Glad to be here.
It's just amazing to me, the secret formula, the marketing genius,
Right.
and how Coca-Cola has, woven itself into history.
It's more than just a soda, that's for sure.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so where do we even begin with a giant like Coca-Cola?
Well, every story has a beginning.
True.
In this case, we need to rewind all the way back to 1886 and meet John Pemberton.
Okay, 1886, John Pemberton.
He was a Civil War veteran and a pharmacist.
Hold on, a Civil War veteran. What's the connection to Coca-Cola?
Pemberton was seeking a substitute for morphine.
Really?
Something to help with pain and, addiction.
So he whips up this drink in his pharmacy and boom, it's Coca-Cola.
Pretty much. He combined coca leaves and cola nuts.
Hence the name Coca-Cola.
Exactly. And he initially marketed it as a temperance drink.
Wait, temperance drink? Wasn't that during the movement against alcohol?
Precisely.
Wow.
This clever positioning helped Coca-Cola gain early acceptance, especially with the temperance movement gaining momentum.
Oh, that's smart.
It was a brilliant marketing move for the time.
So from a morphine substitute to a temperance drink.
Yep.
It's fascinating how Coca-Cola tapped into the social trends.
Yeah.
But how did it go from a local Atlanta drink to, well, Coca-Cola?
Well, that's where Asa Candler comes in.
Okay, Asa Candler.
He bought the rights to Coca-Cola in 1888 and had a real genius for marketing.
Oh, yeah, I read that he, plastered Atlanta with Coca-Cola ads.
Free coupons, banners, the works.
Yeah.
He flooded the market with promotional materials. This aggressive strategy laid the foundation for Coca-Cola's future global dominance.
Okay, I can't resist asking about the secret formula.
Everyone wants to know, right?
It's shrouded in all this mystery.
Yeah.
Is it true that only 2 people know the recipe?
Ah, that's a popular myth, actually. Snopes debunked it. But the original copy, stored in a vault at the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta.
Wow, a vault. But what about the original ingredients? We know about the coca leaves and cola nuts, but the secret formula, that's what makes Coke, right?
Right. Coca leaves, they were the initial source of cocaine, which of course was later removed.
Of course.
And cola nuts provided the caffeine.
Ah, okay.
The exact recipe for the natural flavorings, though, that remains a closely guarded trade secret.
So even today, no one knows exactly what gives Coke that unique taste.
That's the magic of it.
That's incredible. I also read something about a legal battle with the U.S. government over the caffeine in Coca-Cola back in 1911.
Ah, yes, the government sued Coca-Cola,
Right.
claiming caffeine was harmful and they wanted it removed. Oh, wow. Interestingly, a court initially ruled in Coca-Cola's favor. But caffeine ended up on the list of, quote, habit-forming substances requiring labeling.
So they had to disclose the caffeine content,
Right.
but they kept it in the drink.
They did. Transparency won out, I guess.
Now tell me about how bottling came about. When did Coca-Cola go from soda fountains to those iconic glass bottles?
The first bottling happened in 1894 in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And get this, Candler signed away the bottling rights for just $1.
$1. Seriously?
It's true.
That seems like a huge oversight.
It was. Candler underestimated the potential of bottling. This loose contract led to legal battles for decades as bottling exploded in popularity and sub-bottlers emerged.
So it was a messy start,
You could say that.
but a brilliant move in the long run.
Absolutely.
It paved the way for worldwide distribution.
Exactly. The franchising model, though initially problematic, ultimately fueled Coca-Cola's global expansion, allowing those local bottlers to adapt to local tastes and preferences.
Okay, I'm dying to talk about that iconic contour bottle. It's a design masterpiece, instantly recognizable even in the dark. Tell me, how did they come up with that shape?
The bottle was designed in 1915 by Earl Ardeen. He was inspired not by the coca leaf or the cola nut, but
Don't tell me it was a dream. Divine inspiration.
not quite. He found inspiration in a picture of a cocoa pod in the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how a simple image sparked such an iconic design.
That's wild. So the contour bottle, a symbol of Coca-Cola, isn't even inspired by the actual ingredients. It's
Yeah.
a reminder that creativity can come from the most unexpected places. But that iconic status also means intense competition, right?
Oh,
End of the
absolutely.
Cola Wars, right?
Exactly.
The rivalry between Coca-Cola and Pepsi is legendary, especially in advertising.
Oh, for sure.
Think back to the Pepsi Challenge taste tests in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
Pepsi was trying to win over Coke drinkers, but Coca-Cola had a clever response.
Clever indeed.
They downplayed the whole taste test thing, right?
Mm.
Didn't they compare it to something ridiculous?
They did. They likened the Pepsi challenge to two chimpanzees choosing between tennis balls based on furriness.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's amazing how Coca-Cola turned a challenge into a marketing opportunity. But beyond the clever ads and the rivalry, there's also a lot of cultural influence, right? Coca-Cola is practically synonymous with America, isn't it?
It is. From Santa Claus, whose modern image is sometimes attributed to Coca-Cola's advertising, to representing American culture globally, sometimes even American imperialism, Coca-Cola has become a cultural icon, for better or worse.
Right, and that brings us to the criticisms,
Yes.
particularly regarding health and environmental impact.
Right.
All that sugar in those plastic bottles, it's a big issue, isn't it?
It is. Coca-Cola has been criticized for contributing to obesity and plastic pollution. They've faced pressure to address these concerns and have made efforts to diversify their offerings with healthier options, invest in sustainability initiatives.
So it's a complex legacy.
Very complex.
This blend of, like, iconic status and controversy.
Exactly. Coca-Cola is deeply intertwined with history, culture, and global politics. It's more than just a drink.
It's a reflection of our times and a symbol that sparks intense debate. This has been incredible so far. We've gone from a pharmacist's invention to a global phenomenon. But I'm curious about how Coca-Cola actually became such a global force. We touched on bottling, but what about its journey beyond the U.S.? When did Coke first venture outside America?
Believe it or not, Coca-Cola was already being sold internationally by 1900.
Really? Wow.
Shortly after the Spanish-American War, the Cuba Libre was born,
The Cuba Libre.
a mix of Coca-Cola and rum originating in Havana.
Wow. A rum and Coke in Cuba in 1900.
It's a fun fact.
That's a fun fact. But I'm guessing that wasn't exactly like global domination yet, was it?
Not quite. Early international expansion was mostly limited to North and Central America, the Caribbean, and parts of Europe and Asia. Things really accelerated in the 1940s. And surprisingly, World War II played a role.
World War II, how so?
Wartime trade embargoes prevented the import of Coca-Cola syrup to certain regions. Oh, okay.
This led to the creation of some interesting substitutes, like Fanta in Germany. But once the war ended, Coca-Cola saw a massive expansion, particularly in South America and Europe.
It makes sense. With its association with America, Coke probably became a symbol of,
Yes, American soft power and globalization. Today, Coca-Cola is available in almost every country on the planet.
every country. Are there any exceptions?
As of 2012, the only holdouts were Cuba, due to the U.S. embargo, and North Korea. However, even in those places, reports suggest it's available through, shall we say, unofficial channels.
So even where it's not officially sold, people find a way to get their Coke fix.
It seems so.
That says a lot about its global appeal. This makes me wonder, how does Coca-Cola adapt its marketing to all these different cultures and languages? Do they use the same strategies everywhere?
Not at all. Coca-Cola has a fascinating history of tailoring its marketing to local contexts. One famous example involves the translation of Coca-Cola into Chinese.
Oh, I've heard about this. Tell me more. When Coca-Cola first entered the Chinese market, they were searching for a suitable translation. While they were doing their research, you see, local shopkeepers came up with their own phonetic translations.
Oh, no. This doesn't sound good.
It wasn't. Some of these makeshift translations ended up meaning things like female horse fastened with wax or bite the wax tadpole. Definitely not the image they were going for.
I can only imagine the marketing team's reaction.
I'm sure it was priceless.
So how do they fix it?
In the 1930s, they finally settled on iko, kukoko, which translates roughly to allow the mouth to be able to rejoice.
Ah, that's much better. So even with something as basic as a name, Coca-Cola had to navigate cultural nuances. It reminds me that global brands can't just use a one-size-fits-all approach.
You're absolutely right. Coca-Cola's experience in China highlights the importance of cultural sensitivity and adaptation in international marketing.
This all makes me think about the sheer variety of Coca-Cola products out there.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, there's the classic Coke, Diet Coke, but then there's a whole universe of flavors. Remember New Coke?
Of course. It's almost legendary for being a marketing blunder.
What were they thinking? Why change a winning formula?
Interestingly, taste tests showed that people actually preferred New Coke to both original Coke and Pepsi.
Really? So why was it such a flop?
Coca-Cola underestimated the power of nostalgia and brand loyalty. People had an emotional connection to the original formula, and messing with it led to a major backlash.
It's a lesson in the power of emotion in branding.
Absolutely.
People don't just drink Coke, they have memories and associations with it.
Exactly. Coca-Cola learned that lesson the hard way. It led to the triumphant return of Coca-Cola Classic, proving the enduring power of the original. But even with missteps like New Coke, Coca-Cola's willingness to experiment has given us some pretty interesting flavors.
Cherry Coke is a classic in its own right.
Definitely. There's also vanilla Coke, lime, lemon, raspberry, even coffee-flavored Coke.
Whoa, coffee Coke. That's a bit out there. It seems like they throw everything at the wall to see what sticks.
Well, it might seem that way. There's a lot of market research and strategic thinking behind these flavor variations. Coca-Cola is constantly trying to keep up with changing tastes and trends.
It's all about evolution, isn't it?
Exactly.
Adapting to stay relevant. But speaking of adapting, I can't ignore the elephant in the room. The criticisms surrounding Coca-Cola's impact on health, particularly all that sugar, and then there's the issue of plastic waste with all those bottles.
You're raising important concerns. The health implications of sugary drinks are undeniable, and Coca-Cola has faced criticism for contributing to obesity and other health problems.
And the plastic bottles.
Right.
It seems like they're everywhere, clogging up our landfills and oceans.
The environmental impact is a major challenge. Coca-Cola has announced sustainability goals aimed at reducing their environmental footprint. They're working on things like increasing recycling rates, using more sustainable packaging materials, and conserving water.
It sounds promising, but is it enough? Are they truly making a difference?
That's the big question. Some argue that Coca-Cola needs to be even more aggressive in its sustainability efforts, while others are more optimistic about the company's progress. It's a complex situation with no easy answers.
It's a tough balance, isn't it? Maintaining profitability and brand loyalty while addressing these growing concerns about health and the environment.
Absolutely. Coca-Cola's actions moving forward will determine its future, not just as a brand, but as a responsible global citizen.
This deep dive has been eye-opening. It's fascinating how a seemingly simple drink like Coca-Cola is intertwined with so many complex issues.
It really is. From its origins to its marketing strategies to its global impact, Coca-Cola's story is a reflection of our world's evolving social, cultural, and environmental landscape.
I'm eager to keep exploring. Where do we go from here?
Let's shift our focus to the people behind the brand.
Okay.
The executives, the bottlers, the employees who make it all happen.
I like that.
After all, Coca-Cola wouldn't exist without the human element.
Let's delve into the human side of this global giant and see what we discover.
Let's start with the bottlers.
Okay, the bottlers.
They're often overlooked, but they play a crucial role in Coca-Cola's global success.
I think most people, myself included, just kind of assume it's a simple process, right? Mix the secret syrup with water and sweetener, bottle it up, done. But I'm guessing there's more to it.
A lot more. Remember, Coca-Cola caters to a global market.
Right.
And taste preferences, they vary widely from region to region. The bottlers are responsible for ensuring that each market gets a Coca-Cola that suits their specific tastes.
So Coke actually tastes different in different countries. I've heard that, but I always thought it was an exaggeration.
It's true. Bottlers have the flexibility to adjust the formula based on local preferences. Some regions might prefer a sweeter Coke, while others prefer it less sweet. There are subtle variations in the ratios of ingredients to cater to these nuances.
Wow, so the bottlers are kind of like chefs.
Yeah.
Tweaking the recipe to create the perfect Coke for their specific audience.
That's a great way to put it. They have to understand the local market and make sure the Coca-Cola they produce aligns with those taste preferences of their consumers.
That must require a lot of skill and knowledge. I imagine Coca-Cola has, like, strict standards to maintain consistency.
Absolutely. They provide extensive training to their bottlers worldwide to ensure they meet those quality control standards and maintain the integrity of the brand.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't want a bad batch of Coke ruining their reputation in a particular market.
Not at all. And it's not just about the taste either. Bottlers are also responsible for packaging, distribution, even marketing within their specific territories.
Oh, wow.
They're truly the face of Coca-Cola in many parts of the world.
So being a Coca-Cola bottler is, it's a pretty big deal. Big responsibility.
It is. It's a competitive business with high stakes, but it can also be incredibly rewarding to be a part of such an iconic brand success.
Okay, so we've got the bottlers ensuring Coca-Cola reaches every corner of the globe. Each bottle tailored to local tastes. But what about the people at the top?
Yeah.
The executives, the ones making those big decisions about the company's future.
That's where we dive into the fascinating history of leadership at Coca-Cola.
Okay.
There have been some truly remarkable individuals at the helm, each leaving their mark on the company's trajectory.
Any names that stand out? Give me the highlights.
One of the most influential was Robert W. Woodruff.
Robert W. Woodruff.
He became president in 1923 and led the company for decades. He's considered a visionary who transformed Coca-Cola into the global powerhouse it is today.
What were some of his key moves? What made him such a successful leader?
Well, Woodruff had a global mindset. He saw the potential for Coca-Cola beyond the U.S. and aggressively pursued international expansion. He also understood the power of marketing,
Yeah.
connecting with consumers on an emotional level.
Wasn't he the one who envisioned Coca-Cola being available to everyone on Earth? That's a pretty ambitious goal.
He was. Woodruff famously said that he wanted everyone to be able to have a Coke within arm's reach. That vision guided many of his decisions and helped shape the company's culture.
It's amazing how the beliefs and personalities of these leaders have influenced Coca-Cola's journey.
Absolutely. Each leader brought their own perspectives and priorities, shaping everything from product development to marketing strategies to social responsibility initiatives.
So it's not just about like business acumen.
Yeah.
It's about leadership, vision, and understanding the cultural landscape.
Precisely. And that brings us to the current leadership at Coca-Cola. They face a different set of challenges than their predecessors.
Like what? What are the big issues on their agenda today?
Health concerns are a major focus. With growing awareness of the negative impacts of sugary drinks, Coca-Cola is under pressure to diversify its product offerings and promote healthier choices.
They've introduced Diet Coke and Coca-Cola Zero.
Yeah.
But are those really enough? Are they truly committed to addressing these health concerns, or is it just about like optics?
That's a question many critics are asking. Some argue that Coca-Cola needs to do more to reduce sugar content across its entire portfolio and invest more heavily in alternative beverages that are genuinely healthy.
And what about the environmental impact? What are they doing to address plastic waste and water usage?
These are critical issues that Coca-Cola can't afford to ignore. They've announced sustainability goals aimed at reducing their environmental footprint, including initiatives to increase recycling rates, transition to more sustainable packaging materials, and conserve water.
It sounds like they're taking steps in the right direction.
Yeah.
But are those efforts enough? Are they really making like a tangible difference?
That's the debate. Some environmental advocates argue that these efforts are not sufficient and that Coca-Cola needs to be more aggressive in addressing its environmental impact. Others are more optimistic about the company's progress, and acknowledge that real change takes time.
It seems like the current leadership is walking a tightrope. They have to maintain profitability and brand loyalty while also responding to these growing concerns about health and the environment.
You've hit the nail on the head. They can't afford to alienate their core consumers who love that classic Coke. But they also need to adapt to changing societal values and expectations. It's a delicate balancing act.
Their decisions will ultimately determine the future of this iconic brand.
And not just the brand, but the lives of countless employees, bottlers, and distributors who rely on Coca-Cola for their livelihoods.
Right. It's easy to forget that there are real people behind these global corporations.
Yeah.
Their decisions, they have a ripple effect across the world.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to understand the human element of businesses like Coca-Cola. It's about more than just profits and products, It's about the people who make it all happen and the communities they impact.
This deep dive is giving me a whole new perspective on Coca-Cola.
Good.
I never realized how much complexity there was behind, like, a simple pan of Coke.
It's a reminder that even the most familiar things can have hidden depths and complex stories.
Speaking of stories, I'm curious about the everyday employees at Coca-Cola, the people working in the factories, the delivery drivers, the marketing teams. What are their experiences like?
That's a great point. We often focus on the executives and those big decisions, but the reality is that Coca-Cola wouldn't exist without the hard work and dedication of its employees at every level.
I'm imagining a wide range of experiences, from like factory workers on the production line to creative minds brainstorming those iconic advertising campaigns.
You're right. There's a whole world within Coca-Cola with diverse roles and perspectives. It would be fascinating to delve into those different worlds and hear from people who keep this global machine running.
I wonder what it's like to be a part of something so iconic. Do they feel a sense of pride working for Coca-Cola? Or do they just see it as a job?
I imagine there's a mix of both. Some employees probably feel deeply connected to the brand and its legacy, while others might be more focused on, their individual tasks and career goals.
I bet there are some amazing stories to be found within Coca-Cola.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'd love to hear about the people who have dedicated their careers to the company, what they've learned, and how working for Coca-Cola has impacted their lives.
Me too.
Mm.
Those personal narratives are often the most revealing. They can offer a glimpse into the company's culture, its values, and the human impact of its operations.
I'm sure there have been plenty of challenges and triumphs along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine working for a company that's constantly in the spotlight,
Right.
facing scrutiny and criticism. It must be a unique experience.
Definitely. Navigating those pressures, dealing with public perception, and staying true to the brand's values takes a certain kind of resilience and dedication.
I have a newfound respect for the people who make Coca-Cola what it is. It's more than just a drink. It's a massive network of individuals working together, each with their own story to tell.
And those stories are worth exploring. They offer a glimpse into the human heart of this global giant and remind us that even the largest corporations are ultimately made up of individuals.
I'm so glad we're diving into this human element.
Me too.
It's adding a whole new dimension to our understanding of Coca-Cola.
It's humanizing the brand and giving us a deeper appreciation for the people behind the product.
So where do we start? How do we access these stories?
Well, there are a few ways. We could look for interviews with current and former employees, read employee testimonials, or even reach out to people directly and ask them to share their experiences.
That's a great idea. I'm excited to uncover these hidden narratives and bring them to light. It's like we're peeling back the layers of the Coca-Cola onion and discovering its human core.
I love that analogy, and who knows what we might find. These stories could offer valuable insights into the company's culture, its challenges, and its triumphs.
I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface. The world of Coca-Cola is vast and multifaceted, and the stories of its people are an integral part of that.
Absolutely. Let's keep digging and see what treasures we can unearth.
I'm ready for the adventure. Lead the way.
All right. Let's shift gears and explore the cultural impact of Coca-Cola, particularly its advertising. It's hard to deny its iconic and memorable presence in our collective consciousness. Do you have a favorite Coca-Cola ad that comes to mind?
Oh, there are so many to choose from, but the one that always sticks with me is the Hilltop commercial from 1971. You know, the one with the song "I'd Like to Buy the World a Coke."
That's a classic. It captured a moment in time, a desire for peace and harmony during a tumultuous period. It delivered such a powerful message of unity and connection, and it did it beautifully with that simple idea of sharing a Coke with the world.
It's incredible how a commercial can evoke such strong emotions. It has such a lasting impact. And that song, it crossed over from advertising into popular culture and became a hit in its own right.
It did. And that speaks to its resonance with audiences. It transcended its commercial purpose and became like a cultural touchstone, reflecting our shared aspirations for a better world. It's a reminder that great advertising can be art.
Coca-Cola has a knack for creating those kinds of ads, right?
Think you do?
The ones that stay with you long after you've seen them.
They really do. From the classic Santa Claus imagery to the catchy jingles to the heartwarming stories, Coca-Cola's advertising has shaped our visual landscape and cultural vocabulary.
It makes you wonder what goes on behind the scenes of those ad campaigns.
Yeah.
How do they come up with those brilliant ideas that resonate with so many people?
I imagine it's a creative whirlwind, with teams of talented writers, designers, and strategists brainstorming and collaborating to craft those messages that capture our attention and our hearts.
It would be fascinating to get a glimpse into that process, to see how they transform, a simple soft drink into a symbol of happiness, connection, and even world peace.
It's almost like they're bottling emotions along with the drink itself. They're selling us a feeling, an idea, a connection to something bigger than ourselves.
And we buy into it because, deep down, we want to believe in those things. We want to feel connected, happy, and hopeful.
That's the power of marketing at its finest, and Coca-Cola has certainly mastered that art. It reminds us that we're all susceptible to these narratives, these carefully crafted messages that shape our perceptions and influence our choices.
It's a good reminder to be aware of those influences, right?
Yeah,
To think critically about the messages we're bombarded with every day.
for sure.
We need to be discerning consumers, not just of products, but of ideas and narratives.
Well said.
This has been an incredible journey so far. We've explored the history, the marketing genius, the global reach, the criticisms, the human stories, the cultural impact of Coca-Cola. What an adventure.
It really has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of one of the most iconic brands in history.
I'm left with a newfound appreciation for the complexities of this seemingly simple drink. And you know what? All this talk about Coke has made me thirsty for one.
I know what you mean. Maybe we should grab one after this and toast to the fascinating world of Coca-Cola.
I'd love that. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. Always happy to explore the intricacies of the beverage industry.
It's amazing how much there is to discover about something as, seemingly simple as Coca-Cola. We've covered so much ground, the history, the marketing, the cultural impact, the controversies. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious about one more thing.
What's that?
What does Coca-Cola represent to you? Beyond the drink itself, what does it symbolize?
That's a great question. I think for many people, Coca-Cola embodies this idea of American ingenuity, and global reach. It's a product that has transcended borders and cultures, and it's become like a ubiquitous symbol of refreshment and enjoyment.
I see that. It's interesting, though, because it also represents different things to different people.
It does.
Some might view it as a symbol of Americanization or even globalization, while others might simply see it as a tasty beverage.
You're right. It's a complex symbol. It's loaded with meaning and open to interpretation. It reflects our own individual perspectives and cultural backgrounds.
I guess that's the beauty of something like Coca-Cola. It can spark conversations, challenge assumptions, and even make us think more critically about the world around us.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even the most familiar things can have hidden depths and unexpected connections to larger cultural, economic, and political forces.
This deep dive has definitely been an eye-opening experience for me. I've gained a whole new appreciation for the history, the innovation, the marketing brilliance, and yes, even the complexities and controversies surrounding Coca-Cola.
It's quite a story.
Thanks for guiding me through this exploration. I feel like I've earned a PhD in Coca-Cola studies.
The pleasure was all mine. Remember, there's always more to discover, more layers to peel back, so keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop diving deep.
That's great advice. To all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Coca-Cola. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and maybe even discovered something new along the way. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those explorations going.